I want to share a story of when I came back from Rome to London on the plane. And this was right after I wrote this post about how much I trust, and that if there is fear, to feel the fear and then it will move through, because it always does. And right after I posted that, the plane just didn't take off because there was a big queue at the airport in London because a lot of flights were cancelled over the weekend because of the weather. The plane door was closed and I was in the first row, so that helped a lot. But the plane door was closed and I was on my phone. But as I was on my phone, I was just aware that like half an hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and the plane has not yet taken off, and there's not really been any news from the pilots. So like I was just aware of this situation. Context, 2 years ago when I was flying from LA to Melbourne, I was in the plane for 6 hours and didn't let us out until the last hour. We had to just be in the plane. The door was also closed. I think that really traumatized me. I was having like massive anxiety, even though it wasn't 6 hours, but you know, like building up to it, I was like, oh my god, am I going to be in the same situation? I just did my best to like hold myself, and I was alone because Kara took the plane the next morning because my flight was sold out. But there was literally an empty seat like 2 seats away from me. I was actually okay, and just being with the fear, breathing really deeply. It wasn't until the boy behind me kind of in a really urgent tone asked the cabin crew, like, do you know what's going on and what's causing the hold up? And she said, I don't know. And when the people in authority don't know, that freaks me out. And also hearing the urgency in his voice, it triggered what was inside of me that was already there, that I was trying to like put a lid on so that I don't explode. But witnessing that or overhearing this conversation, it piqued that part of me from within. And then it didn't take very long for me to really be scared. So I was really doing my best, my bestest. And it was like a flip decision that I could make, right? Like, okay, I can be calm or I can lose my shit and panic. I was calm until I hit my threshold. And there was also a bunch of people next to me queuing for the bathroom because I was in the first row. So people were just like hovering over me, like in front of me and beside me and behind me. So that really didn't help. So I went to the air stewardess and I asked like, what's going on? Why is there a hold up and how long more? I started off with asking her, can you please open the door? And she said, absolutely not. And I was just like visualizing, if the door was open and I stood right at the door, I'll be okay, because like there's fresh air. I can look out and I can just be with the horizon outside. And she was like, absolutely not, because we'll lose our place in the queue. My heart sank. I told her, I'm really scared. And she was like, why are you scared? What do you fear? And I said, like, just being trapped. And she was like, okay, you are safe. You are safe here. We are with you. We are here with you. She kept repeating, we are here with you. And then she said, like, it won't take long now. It did take long, but I think she was just trying to reassure me. She explained again why we couldn't open the door. And then she was like, what can I give you? What helps you? I asked for hot water. Her colleague said, I have my own chamomile tea. Can I offer it to you? So I took the chamomile tea and I was just holding the cup, and with every sip, I was just affirming to myself, I'm safe, I'm okay, and I will be supported the whole way. The whole time, like thinking, fucking hell, I asked for this, because I literally wrote about it. I really did feel a bit better, like with the hot beverage, and I saw her going into the cockpit to talk to the pilots, and that made me feel like, okay, there was information coming through, so that's fine. And in that moment also, I have this grip in my mind that if I stood outside or if the door was open, I'll be fine. But the truth is that I can just look past the two people next to me out the window, and what difference is that? It's still outside. Even though yes, it's a window, it's not the same freedom as being outside. I just kept looking out and I kept telling myself, it's the same thing. My brain is just trying to want something that I don't have, because it believes that means safety. But having that belief keeps me in the loop that I'm not safe. But the truth is, I really am. And I kept telling myself, I really honestly choose being here as it is, like the plane door not open, waiting to take off, than being in the air circling because it has no parking place to taxi, and then running out of fuel, and that would be just horrendous. So I was like, this is the safest place I can be right now. There's enough air, I'm in the front row, I'm good. For a moment, just for a split second, I could see what was happening internally, that my brain was just trying to cling on to an image of something that isn't what is, to just reiterate that having that thing equals I'm safe. But it's literally like 1 meter away. The door was 1 meter away. If it opens, it's still 1 meter away. So it's not that thing. I could see for the first time what I have been doing all this while whenever I'm anxious and thinking like I need the exit. I just need to be on the other side of the exit. It's just this thing about I can't feel trapped. But that trapping is my mind. Actually, like at that moment when I was making peace with it and feeling calm because of the hot tea, what happened was the staircase floated to us. Literally like a magic Harry Potter staircase floated to us. The whole plane groaned and I was so happy. And it turned out the cabin crew at the back, because of the delay, it was over 2.5 hours, and it was going to be a return flight from Rome to London to Rome. She would have gone past her work hours, which is not legal, so she had to get off the plane and a new cabin crew would come on board. So the staircase came, the door opened, and I stood up actually quite quickly, and I just stood at the galley and looked out. But after a while, I just asked the air stewardess, can I please stand here, which is outside? So she said, yes, of course. So I stood there with my tea and feeling like, oh my god, like I'm so happy. What I needed to feel safe really manifested, but only after I saw that I didn't need it. I think the attachment wasn't there anymore, and the attachment is usually the block, and it met, you know, I had my needs met. So I stood right there and I was okay. The next cabin crew was taking a while to arrive, and I was like, good, just take as long as you need, because it means the longer she takes, the longer I could stand right there. And eventually she came, and by the time she came and I had to go back in, I felt alright. There was definitely still a level of anxiety and nervousness and fear, but I was able to just be with it. I asked for another hot drink, I just breathed. Either like half an hour, 45 minutes or an hour later, we took off, and once we did, I was fine because things were going as they were meant to go. A few things came up for me through the incident, which is that like knowledge really is power, because the pilots and the cabin crew knew actually the other cabin crew, their colleague, would have to disembark, right? If I knew that, there would be some kind of comfort, like, okay, the door will be open soon, really soon, because the staircase is coming. I feel like knowing that I would rest at ease even more, or knowing like actually how much longer do we have to wait before we go. There was no warning, just no notice given. People were still queuing, cabin crew was still pouring drinks, and then the plane just moved and then everyone just scrambled back to their seats. It was just nothing. Maybe because they didn't know, and maybe the control station told them, okay, go now. I don't know, but I think that knowing that would be helpful, because what happened was that they said, okay, it wouldn't take more than 20 minutes and we'll be off, and then it took 2.5 hours. Then it happened again, oh, it won't take more than 10 minutes and we'll be off, and obviously it didn't take fucking 10 minutes. So I realized, oh my god, that's why there is a part of us in humans that want knowledge, because having more knowledge means you're less ignorant, it means you know more, and whether it's power or a sense of safety or control. I could have more empathy for that. And the other thing that came to me was like how somehow I need something that isn't what is. I notice this pattern within myself whereby I'll go to restaurants and then I'll ask for what's not on the menu. Sometimes I ask whether bending a rule or making an exception is possible, even when, like in the previous video, I spoke about the train down from Snowdon, from the summit of Snowdon. Like there was a big poster there that says there are no seats available, and I still went to ask, can I please get on? I was curious about this pattern in myself, like why do I often seek to find an exception, find a loophole, see how I can bend rules? What came up was very interesting. It's that maybe rules were not safe, like rules were not safe for you, or when an exception has been made for you, you know that you matter. And I feel like it's both, like both are really true, because it's true that sometimes rules don't have my best interest. Like for example, taking the jab a few years ago, like every part of me was against it, and yet there was a strong coercion to do it. I remember growing up, every day I would hear this phrase, my roof my rules, my house, my rules, and then there was no choice. I was a kid. What was I meant to do except to abide? And if I don't abide, then there was severe punishment. So there's just this idea or conditioning that rules are not safe, even though rules are meant to keep me safe according to someone else's belief. But I wasn't sold. I didn't buy into it. So I have this belief that rules, they don't have my best interest. Not all the time, but sometimes. And then the other thing is that if an exception has been made or someone bent the rule for me, it's not that I feel puffed up and like important, but I just feel like, oh, I matter. Someone sees me and sees my needs and is willing to have that human compassion to meet me. And even though this is a rule, I understand your case and therefore I can bend it for you. And that gives me this sense of safety, and it feels like it's relational. Something else that came up for me is that when the cabin crew continued to look at me and ask me, am I okay? And tell me that we're here with you, that made me feel safe. Like the eye contact really just made me feel so held. I feel like it's the co-regulation, which is so profound, how quick it is. Like just in an instant, I felt someone's here with me and I'm not alone in this. Sometimes like I get into conversations with Kara, she'll ask me, why can't you just self-regulate? And I tell her it's not that I don't. I reach the end of my capacity of self-regulation and then I need help outside of me. And I recognize actually it doesn't take a lot. It almost takes an instant when there is a loving gaze, when I'm held, like physically held, and when the tone of voice is so compassionate and kind. Every part of my system that's like having alarm bells just know, oh my gosh, I'm safe right now. I feel like that's super helpful for me to recognize in moments of peak anxiety and panic what I need so that I feel safe, and also to see how my mind plays tricks on me. In that situation, being outside of the plane on that staircase and being in the plane, in that moment, it wouldn't make much of a difference. It would if like I'm in the plane for like fucking 6, 7, 8 hours and I'm not able to escape if I need to and I'm trapped in the plane. That's a different story. But at that time, it was 2 hours and my mind was playing it forward into the worst case scenario. In that moment, it was okay, and I had all I needed on the plane. There was food, there was bathroom, there was water, there was space, there was light. So I'm good. I just saw how my mind just needed to cling on to something that is not available to feel safe. But I feel like going through all of that, it was really another fucking rite of passage initiation in this pilgrimage. Because honestly, that was like the last moment of the pilgrimage before I came back into settling. I've been in London for a week and then I'll be in Glastonbury for the next 6 days. There's no adventuring, explorations, just rest, stillness, integration. That was the last moment, and it really felt like, how much do you trust spirit? It's always a work in progress. I feel like I do trust spirit a lot. And then I'm presented with my capacity and my threshold again and again to show me another situation, another episode happened. And yes, I came out alive. Would I voluntarily put myself in that situation again? No. But I do feel like I'm being evidenced and shown that in moments that I feel it's the end of the world, or part of me feels it's the end of the world, it's death. It's not. And I'm okay. I made it through. So I just felt like it's valuable for me to share this because it really feels like it's a part of the pilgrimage, and it's a part of like what comes up when I live on the edge of safety and knowing what is right for me, which is this way of life. And I often wonder if I chose a different way, a conventional way, whereby I have a corporate job, steady income every month, I'm in nuclear family that is advocated for, would I still feel this sense of panic or anxiety every time life shows me something that is a bit out of my control or unpredictable? I don't know, because that's not the situation I'm in. So I think it's like worthy food for thought. Thank you for listening. It's been a long ramble. I wonder if you resonate in any way. I would love to know. And also, what do you do in these moments of anxiety and panic so that you tide through the situation? Or otherwise, if this sharing made you feel a little less alone in your experience, then that's great.